Okay, hold on. I'm excited.
What? I'm not gonna play with you. All right, let's go ahead and add on Lafayette. Let's go ahead and
my boy Love.
How's it going?
How are you? We're good.
I feel like you about to go to somebody's church service.
You ain't know? Quarantine service.
Quarantine service. Did you see Lafayette's Easter outfit?
Listen, that man got dressed up for the liberty.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
All right, let's go ahead and add in Jasmine. Jasmine.
Hi,
Jasmine. Hey.
Hi.
Oh,
how are you?
Y'all.
Hey, friend. Hey, friend.
Hey, y'all.
What's on your mind, Jazz? Listen, live. Listen, I need y'all to get in the comments. Go ahead and drop something.
I can't see who's actually watching, so like put something so you can say like
right. Let us know who's watching for sure.
Because the people want to know.
Go ahead and share it on my page.
I got my phone too, so maybe it'll show on the phone.
Oh yeah, I got mine here.
Okay. I don't know, but we live though.
We live.
We are live. All right, so I kind of did already like an introduction for those that came on right on time at 6:00 about like this platform. So
oh, I see my daddy live. Hey, daddy.
Hey, Mr. Watcher.
Hey.
So, you know, like I have a podcast, it's called Being One. And on there, I literally am just talking. So whoever's listening, I'm just talking to you. So this platform allows us to come on as friends, right? I call the listeners of the podcast Kingdom Citizens, but this gives us a platform to be friends where we can conversate with each other. So that's why I had you guys come on. And we just gonna do what we normally do, just talk, right?
Yeah.
And so like our conversations, man, like we just have some deep conversations. And I just believe that these are like conversations that needs to be heard, like the world needs to hear them, or it's gonna like bring insight to somebody in somebody's home and things like that. So listen, what's on your mind? What's on your mind, Jazz? Like what have you been pondering on? Like
the biggest thing that I've been just focusing on right now, and I wanted to talk to y'all about, I've been real bored during this quarantine. I'm gonna be honest. And so I'm just like, like, how are y'all dealing with y'all boredom? And are you dealing with the boredom doing good things? Like, I hear so many people doing like
quarantine and chill.
So many people. There's some people like growing and
but
starting
what about
business.
social distance? Oh, that's true. I'm about to say quarantine and chill. We can't quarantine. Okay, wait. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying like people are doing like they're starting businesses and like, you know, and it's so beautiful to see that. But like me, like I'm bored. So I just be like, I don't know what to do because there is the option to quarantine and chill. So you like, oh, what am I supposed to do during this time? I just want to know what y'all been doing because I've been
chilling. I got something to say about that quarantine and chill thing because didn't they say we're supposed to be social distancing 6 feet? So how are we quarantining and chilling? Like what does that look like?
What you mean how?
Like okay, obviously if you're a married quarantine and chill, that makes sense, but like if you're not like 6 feet, we're not doing that, we're not following that guideline, social distancing, we're not doing that.
Probably not.
I mean, it depends. Okay, I mean, if you had a boo thing, are you supposed to see that boo thing or not see that boo thing during this time?
You can see them on FaceTime.
But let's be realistic. I'm just saying. FaceTime. Being realistic. If you say you have a significant other, it's been a month and y'all live in the same city. Are you really not seeing them? Come on. I mean, the answer should be no, but is it realistic to not see your person for this long time?
Are these two people Christians?
So you got two different answers. You got two different answers, huh?
Hi, Lauren.
No, I feel like that is two different answers, though. Honestly.
All right, so go ahead, give us the Christian answer.
Christians, no. So you want to maybe do your FaceTimes, maybe go to, well, you can't go to the public parks because they're closed. But if you have a trail near you that's open, or you know, you guys can meet at each other's houses and go for outdoor walks. But yeah, I don't think that it's a good idea if you're trying to live godly to be spending time together, chilling.
Okay, so so you asked, okay, are they Christian? So if they weren't Christian, what answer would you give?
Of course, why not?
Okay, so then why couldn't somebody who is a Christian, like, why can't they? Like, why is the standard different? Like,
Yeah.
So we're held to different standards. So if you
Come on.
decide to take on this life,
But what y'all doing though?
but,
Like,
right? Like, what do you like? Okay, like everybody's home. Everybody's
let me
go
speak
ahead,
for
go
me. So I'm not
go
gonna have nobody over my house right now because that just leaves too much room for God knows what to happen.
Well, there it is.
My flesh isn't as strong as some of y'all's may be. So
I will say, I have.
it's not a good idea
flesh,
to have people over, especially when I have the freedom to do what I want. So no.
This is my concern, right? We're bored though. That's my thing. Like when you're bored, you be being reckless. That's why people don't like I always think about like little kids because my mom used to have like a daycare, and it's kind of like when they're too quiet or when they're by themselves, it's kind of like what they doing. They're bored. They try to figure things out, try to create new fun for them, and so that can be scary because it's kind of like, what are you doing? Like when you have a busy life, you kind of know, okay, they're playing this, they're reading this, they're doing this. So I just feel like for me, it's dangerous to start creating like these relationships. I think that they're growing in this period, and I feel like that can kind of be dangerous because now it's kind of just like I ain't got nothing else to do, and I'm just like, what? I don't know.
I think you can be creative too, though. I think you can do backyard dates where it's like a picnic and.
But remember, we're social distancing.
But what if we get outside and it's like, oh, it's too hot out here. Let's just go in the house. Like you don't.
I don't know. I think I'm thinking too deep into it. Like, I mean, if you know your limits, like I feel you what you're saying. I guess if you know that your flesh is weak, but I mean, and then Sam, you said we supposed to be social distancing. I could say the same thing about married couples.
Yeah.
But they're in the
same household.
But if they work inside the house, they should be socially distanced, technically.
Technically, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
you put
but they're already exposed to each other.
Right. It's per household. Like you're supposed to be socially distant, I thought. Because my thing about it, it's not even the whole like not trusting your flesh for me. For me, it's more of like we're not like in this quarantine time, I don't know who you've been exposed to. I don't know where you've been, like those type of things. So you should just stay away. Like, I feel like I want to find other things to do in my boredom rather than create these relationships in which we can only talk via FaceTime and text and things like that, if that makes sense.
So you're looking to like have that physical like
no, not even have that
meeting
physical,
or
but it's kind of just like, is there anything else we can do other than that? Like what else y'all been doing?
You can draw.
You have to be okay. Let me tell y'all. Let me tell y'all what Tyra's been doing.
What has Tyra?
Okay, go ahead, Tyra. Let us know, Tyra.
Virtual dates.
Okay.
Virtual dates.
Interesting.
And what that entitles is like you and your person are doing the same thing at the same time with no distractions and like not being on your phone. So perfect example. I had a brunch date virtually, and we cooked at the same time. Don't worry about that, sweetheart. Don't worry about that, sweetheart.
Don't worry about that, sweetheart. Go ahead.
And we cooked at the same time. We sat down and ate at the same time. We prayed at the same time. It was, and it actually felt as if we were in person.
Nah.
Yeah, nah.
What?
Not that ain't it.
No, don't knock it till you try it.
That's facts.
Till you try it, because we actually had like very deep conversations, like hard questions that we had never asked each other. Like it was such a dope moment, honestly, and I think it was just definitely needed.
Yeah,
I think so. I'm down.
So my question is like, what if like y'all weren't in a relationship before, y'all wasn't talking before, y'all never went on a date before, and like on social media they're just like, oh, like, you know, trying to get to know you, whatever. So will we have our first date virtually? Like, are we?
Why not? Why not
like,
though?
Okay, I mean, I guess that's intentional.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't mind it because, and with my virtual date, the person was the one that initiated that. So that lets me know, okay, we can't physically be around each other, but I still want to spend time with you. Yes, we FaceTime. Yes, we text or whatever. But I want to have this quiet time for like 2 hours where we're not on our phones, we're not distracted. We can just talk.
But kind of like what Jasmine said, how you know they're not just bored and you just
Yeah,
This person wasn't bored.
Bored in the house, and I'm in the house bored.
Bored in the house, and I'm in the house. No, yeah. So I feel like I mean, I don't know about maybe a new person. I know the person I was on a virtual date with. We've been friends for a while, but I think I would still possibly do the same thing if I didn't know the person that long. And it was just like we were talking before COVID-19. Now we're, that I don't know. I think you just got to be creative this time. I feel like just with television shows, like live talk shows they're doing more of the Zoom interviews. I'm doing it with the show that I work with. We just have to be creative. This is like the normal for right now until things can, get better and our officials can find other ways to help us kind of move along. So I think it's very important to use your resources of what you have now in front of you.
No, that's
so. I think I was gonna say I think like maybe like why people are kind of hesitant per se, like me, it's kind of cringy a little bit. I don't know. Did y'all feel that? Like it's kind of cringy. But go ahead.
No, I would say what's interesting is like what I'm finding is like it's easier when it's like a friendship. Like if I'm getting to know like my home, like a new like girl, and she's like, oh, I like this. Like that's easier. It's kind of just like like we can get to know each other via social media. That's how people talk now and hang out and things like that. My worry is just like, I just need to watch my boredom because I just don't want it to be like, oh, I'm just doing this just because like,
I'm bored.
Like you said, you have to be intentional with these like building of relationships, whether it be like an intimate one or a friendship. So it's just interesting to hear like people are like actually having like virtual dates and stuff like that. Cause I'm just like, yeah, I'm not used to that.
What I think too, like, because okay, let's say we weren't in quarantine, none of this was happening. Like, if somebody was just like, okay, which I guess we've done it before. We just didn't know. Like, back in the day when we was in high school, middle school, we couldn't really leave the house for real, and so we used to just watch like not Netflix or watch a movie that was on like HBO or Disney Channel together. Like we would stay on the phone watching the same thing. So I guess that we were
practicing then.
And we didn't even know that. But I feel like when we got older, if somebody told me like, oh, I guess I would. I guess that would be showing intentionality, especially for long distancing. But I think some people were like, that was kind of like cringy. But I feel like that also gave ideas to people or even married couple that are long distance or like they have to go away for work or even couples that are long distance where it's just like, oh, like we could have done this, So I feel like where we're at now is allowing people to be more creative and thinking outside the box. Because I feel like that's being intentional, I'm gonna like take time out of what I'm doing, even though we can't get together because of this whole what's going on. Like, but I'm still making time to for us to conversate, for us to have these deep conversations. And honestly, I was talking about it in my podcast where I was just like, I feel like in this season too, because we're not getting bottled up in the physicalities of somebody, or we don't ask the deep conversations because we don't know how they might react. But now it's giving us an opportunity to be like, okay, this or okay, that,
You low-key have no choice.
Right, because all we can do is talk.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
All we can do is talk.
Which I kind of had. I don't know if I can lead to another question, but how do you guys feel about the whole unequally yoked situation?
In what way?
Friendships, relationships,
relationships.
Romantic relationships.
We
need specifics.
Romantic. And yeah, go ahead.
Is the person willing to at least learn about? Because here's how I feel. Like if I meet you and you're Buddhist or atheist or whatever, and I ask you to come to church, you like, I don't believe it, but I'll come with you because you asked me to. Like that's something that I feel like we could work out. Like we're not getting married tomorrow, so that's not a big deal.
Are you gonna go to their church?
No.
But okay, I feel like with that, I feel like you definitely have to be equally yoked, because even though you may feel like you're strong, you could easily get turned the wrong way, or you're not as persuaded in the other different way. But if I met somebody and they didn't feel that way, whatever, we're just friends. I'm not gonna sit there and have a relationship, a exclusive relationship with that person, knowing that we're not equally yoked, because it's literally you're going one way, I'm going. It's not gonna ever work. You know what I mean? So I'll be cool. I guess. You said what?
What if they're converted or they're interested at least, but they're just not all the way there?
Well, so they believe in Jesus. They
aren't 100% on it, but they are willing to learn or at least explore.
Okay,
is that a no?
Well, No, like,
He
okay,
said, "Is that a
I don't
no?"
know. For me, it's just like cool. Like we can be friends. You know what I mean? But like to like, cause me, like for me, like I'm not gonna date somebody unless I know or like believe that we can have a view. We both have a view on marriage, if that makes sense. So it's like I'm not gonna get in something exclusive, and that isn't like the goal. And even if that is the goal, like we gotta be on one accord. You know what I mean? Like if spiritually we can't agree, like we're gonna agree on anything because my principles fall on what I believe spiritually. So I mean, we could be friends. Like I'll text you back, but
I'll text you back.
Like, I'll text you back.
I wouldn't like if he asked me to be his girlfriend. I wouldn't be like, yeah, because like that would just be like that would be one of those like out of boredom or like this ain't gonna go nowhere and it's gonna waste my time and your time. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what if you got to know them first and then you learned about them not?
But I
feel like spirituality is one of my first topics.
That's what I was just about to say. If we're friends, we're gonna have all of these conversations, and I think that relationships start with friendships in a sense. Well, that's what I'm aiming for. Like something that starts with a friendship where we have these conversations and we should be comfortable to talk to each other about this. And I think that sometimes my worry with the whole equally yoked question is like kind of like, am I able to change their minds? And I don't think we should come. I don't think we should come into anything, like with the hopes of like being like a change mind or a savior or something like that. So I just think that becoming someone's true friend will like allow you to have some of these deeper and tougher conversations, and you can kind of tell like when you guys progress to the next stage, if this is something that is equally, yoked or not.
But question, does equally yoked, does that only mean, oh, I'm a Christian, he's a Christian, whatever? Or does that mean my faith walk might be a little bit stronger than his or vice versa? I pray a little bit more, or this person might be, a little on the wild side, but love the Lord. Like, what does unequally yoked? Like, I think it's a huge umbrella. I think
you could date somebody that's a Christian and they are literally the worst person you have ever encountered.
The devil.
And you could meet an agnostic person who is morally exactly what you're looking for, but they don't check that Christian box, which is why I'm saying, like, if this person, that's what I'm saying, I'm not completely like no, because what if they're willing to, okay, maybe I'm not gonna ever believe what you believe, but for the kids' sake, if we were to get married or something, I'll come to church with you or I'll do X, Y, and Z to make it work. Like I feel like it's so many layers to it.
That's so scary.
I feel like go ahead, Jess.
No, I think of the y'all teach me. Ain't it the oxens in the story where they tell you y'all both wearing the little bar? And sometimes you carrying all the weight and you want somebody that bar can kind of like, so my whole thing about it is, and something that like I've always been taught is like, that may not look exactly the same. Like there's somebody that could be better in like communication and I can be like less than that, but he can carry that bar on that end, but I can be good at this and he can carry the bar on that end. So it's kind of just like paying attention to that bar. And I think Christianity or faith or believing in Jesus is a really big part of the like a savior. Believing that he is a savior is a really big part of that bar for me. So I wouldn't be able to, even if he's morally sound, be with someone that doesn't have that aspect for me, if that makes sense.
But could it be a little different for women than men? Because I've noticed with some friendships that like my female friends, when they get with the guy, they kind of morph themselves to be, not all of them, but some of them kind of morph into what the guy is to kind of keep him. So it is what it is. Either you're going to be with me or you're not. Like, y'all think that could be a thing? Or
I think that that's what I'm saying. Like, even though you may feel like, oh, I'm strong, like I believe in Jesus, whatever, like if someone else, especially somebody that you like, again, like that whole pleasing thing, and I feel like even like high key, like biblical, like, if a man goes to this church and a woman goes to this church and they come together, like most likely that woman is going to go to the man's church. You know what I mean? Because like she's under her husband in a sense. So she's submitting to that. And so sometimes I feel like even in dating relationships, we try to like submit to like the guy. Like, so I feel like it is easier sometimes for the woman to get persuaded into that that direction. And honestly, like when it says like equally yoked, like I like go even more deeper, where it's just like not to you being Christian, because you can be Christian and listen, you
and can be a mess and your spirit jacked up.
Listen,
we all fall short, child.
Listen, so it gotta be
no, but like
it got to be deeper than that. And so like when you were saying, okay, like if you're like spiritually strong, you have a strong relationship with God or whatever, and they're not, like, that's not going to like phase me. For me, it's like, is our head and is our goals kind of like similar? Like, do we see the same thing in the future? You know what I mean? Right. Because like if you're saying, like, I'm saying, yeah, I want to have like kids, a big family, whatever cases, and you're like, oh, I ain't had no kids, I had like 8 siblings, and we're not doing, no, then why am I still, you know what I mean? Like if you're set on that, like, yes, there might be a possibility you might change, but like these are the things that I'm like looking for, where are we equally yoked in the way we think? You know, you don't necessarily have to like agree everything that I say, but like the principles, at least, like they have to like come in agreement, if that makes sense. Like
I agree.
Like okay, I don't want my child, or you know, somebody says like, oh, I don't want my kids going to church, or I don't want them, whatever. They just got to figure out. No, like they're going to be in the church. You know what I mean? Because like, I believe that train is a child in the way that goes. Right. So it's just like things like that, where it's just like, we're not equally yoked in that area, where, again, like what Jasmine was saying, like picturing like the what are they, the yaks or the cows, whatever. I think cows and like the little yoke thing. And if they're like, one is saying I'm going this way, and what, it can't work. Like we're just going to be struggling, and we're never going to progress. We're never going to go to that next level. And it's going to hold you back. So
I agree.
That's how I feel about it.
I agree. I used to just, sorry, Jasmine, go ahead.
No, I was saying, like, I agree, and I'm like, you know, when you go down memory lane, and you I thank God for wisdom, because like, has it always been like this for me? I just feel like now, like with our age and just being just more, like you said, intentional, I'm learning so much more than like back in the day, because for me, like Laf was saying, like equally yoked meant something totally different. Like equally yoked mean we both went to church. Like, come on, we go to the same church. Literally, like I've dated someone in the church. I thought that was, you know, that was it. We getting married. We both go to the same church.
That's crazy, right?
Know.
Or you just think that, because he believe in God, then he equally yoked. But
I have something to say about that. So like, you know how people like, I keep fixing my AirPods, but y'all know how people always be like, oh, you know, I want me a man of God.
What does that mean?
Or, right. Or, you know, I want a man that's God-fearing, or I want a woman that's God-fearing. Like, what does that really mean? Because I feel like people think that if that person goes to church, that automatically makes them
automatically makes them
get confused. Like, because then when they get hurt by somebody in the church, they're like, oh no, like the church is whatever the case is. So it's just like, we need to be careful about what we're asking for, because when you say these things, do you really want these things? Because if you really got a true man of God, or you got a woman that fear God, like, I don't think you'll be doing what you're doing. And I don't think you won't feel comfortable doing what you're doing because you got you know what I mean? Like, so what do we really mean when we say that?
But even, and then too, or when people do say, okay, because we know, so say a man is like, oh, you know, I just want a woman of God. I'm like, and he talking to me, I'm like, are you ready for that? Because baby, let me tell you, you ready for the early morning, night prayer times that I be having? Are you ready for me to always include God into everything? You know, I believe God is leading me into, you know, ministry one day. So are you ready for that and all that entitled? So I also think we got to be careful we, you know, ask for, because you may not be ready for it yet.
Exactly. And it's like, we got, like, even if you're not ready, but it's just like, I think people say like, oh, I got me a God-fearing man. I'm just like, you do? So like, so what, define fearing God for me, please. Like, define it, because... Are you sure he feared God for her? Like,
sometimes fearing God, man. Half the time.
But also, too, I think it's important, too, that I was actually talking to a friend about this, that it's not, there's no perfect person, and a person that's not going to have your whole, like, checklist checked off, you know? And I think I'm learning that as I grow older and as I, you know, get ready for courtship and stuff, that he may not have it all together. But what are like some things that are on your list, shall I say? If you have
honestly, I don't have a list.
I don't either. I did know.
I feel like when you have a list, I feel like putting a list, like trying to match a person to a list, is setting yourself up to be single forever. Because
Forever.
you're not going to get it all. Like, there are some basics. Like, I want you to, outside of knowing God, like, be funny, like, be smart. You may not have all the education, but like, be smart, be able to defend yourself, speak up for yourself, and the rest of it I can kind of work with. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
It's so funny. Like, before Sam made her last comment, the top of my list was a God-fearing man. So I'm like, what does that mean now, Jasmine? So I know I don't think I have like a specific list, but I'm not gonna lie, because to say I don't have a list is to say that anybody could just be like, hey, yo, what's up? And I'm gonna be like, what's, so I know that's not true either. So I just think that for me, I'm not focusing on, am I the God-fearing person that like we're talking about? Because like I said, we all struggle. We all have we all fall short in some areas. So I want to be prepared. Like, if a God-fearing man came and was like, yo, I want you to be, like, am I prepared to do that? Am I prepared to live that life as well? And I feel like as I'm focusing on myself, I'm just going to pray that God kind of handles the rest and like, see where that goes.
That's so important. That's so dope that you said that, because I've been saying that lately. I'd be like, oh, I want a man who is very great at credit, very family oriented, loves Jesus, has a relationship, building his relationship, even if his relationship is not all the way there yet, that he recognizes that and he's working towards that. But I also have to be what I want in my man. I want to be good at credit too. I want to be good and a great steward over my finances. I want to make sure my relationship with God is A1 every single day and continuing to build. So am I what I want, and that's why I've been so single for a long time, just like finding myself and just loving myself, but finding out the things that I need to work on. What does Tyra need help with? I can't be looking at everybody else and pinpointing what they need help with and not looking at my own self.
Yeah, my cousin asked me like all the time, like, would you date yourself? Like, would you date somebody that was like you? And I'd be like, whew, that question every day. And then, the first thing you think about is like annoying things about yourself. Like, oh Lord, like I go to sleep at 9. Like, I don't like that. I want somebody that, like things like that. So it's kind of just like, I instantly like those things. And if there's any like true deep things that I don't like about myself, like that's what I'm like, okay, I need to work on. Like for me, I think the biggest thing that I've been working on like 2020 and just in general, and Corona has been humbling me, is like patience. And so I was like, that's something I want to work on, because I want to be patient for my future and whatever that means. But I know that that's a reason why I also wouldn't date someone like me, because I know patience is a struggle. So I'm like, let me use that to focus on working on that as well.
That's
what would y'all's be? Like,
something that we need to work on?
No, I'm just saying, like, would you date yourself? Like, what would your answer to that question be?
No.
Yes.
Ooh, Tara said yes, confident.
Yes, I would date me. I am that chick. No, I'm kidding.
No, period.
No. Yeah, no. In the past, no, I wouldn't date me in the past. But yeah, now I would. I love me, and I think God has. I'm not perfect, but like the way I love the Lord, like. I'm like, yes, Lord, I would date me now. I can truly answer that question with confidence. Now, something I need to work on. Yes. I mean, one of those things is being a control freak. I feel like I have to be in control of everything, and I overthink a lot. Top 2 things that I kind of I wouldn't say hate about myself, but just something that I just got to work on. I overthink every little small thing, and it drives me insane.
For me, I would be like, I feel like a few years ago, I'd be like, yeah. And then now I could still say yeah, but I feel like for me it's just like, okay, I feel like there's like great like qualities that I have.
Hey, Pastor Maxwell.
Like, there are some like there's areas in your life that's just weak, and I feel like there's gonna be that person that's kind of like that'll be stronger in that area. And so it's just like dating myself would be like, all right, I'm dating exactly what I see in the mirror, you know what I mean? But like somebody that I would date, like I feel like they should compliment me and vice versa, where it's just like those areas where they might be weaker and I'll be stronger in, and vice versa. So I guess I don't know to answer the question.
I want to know why Lafayette said no though. He was like, no.
I'm stubborn, so I need somebody who's a little more patient. Not like stubborn, like to the max, but like there are certain things that I just won't bend on. So it's like for me, I need somebody who can kind of be that nicer person or that person who's willing to compromise in some areas and can teach me how to do those things. Because it's like, if we both stubborn, we're not going to get anywhere. Like, I get moody sometimes. Sometimes I get quiet. I don't want to talk. Like,
Sometimes.
Right, so imagine y'all both not talking. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's like you. See, I'm gonna be like this.
right. So it's like, knowing that about myself, I need somebody who's not the complete opposite, but have some different qualities than I do. Like,
or we can just work on our stubbornness too. That's the thing.
But I feel like
I'm stubborn on. It could be something simple, like I don't want ice cream, or like you know,
we going to get ice cream. Why you don't want ice cream for, love?
But I feel like I definitely agree that there are areas that we may be weak in that, like, you know, we want to strengthen. But I feel like if we focus too much on the areas that are weaker and not the areas that we have the strengths in, like, we will be working on things all the time. You know what I mean? And I feel like that could delay us from doing the things that we're called to do because we're so focused on the things that we felt we're, you know, and not so strong in. And so being able, that's why I feel like community and even having a relationship with friends is important, because where I might not be good in that area, I'm not going to sit there and spend 2-3 years doing that thing when I know Tara can do that thing and that can help me. You know what I mean? So it's just like knowing, like, yes, these are my areas of weaknesses, and yeah, I can work on these things. And if this benefits my like purpose or I'm called to do, then I will work on that. But sitting there working on every little thing you're weak in, like, I feel that's gonna waste time, you know? So that's why we should be willing to like have relationships with people.
No, that's good. No, that's facts. I feel like one of the reasons why, no, I'm in that, because you're making me think now. Because one of the reasons why like patience is one of my like biggest things right now is because like I'm just like, yo, you know, I feel like people naturally love kids, and I'm just one of those people where it's like it's not natural. Like, I love kids, but it's not just like a, oh, let me babysit. Like, I'd be like, cute, you know, from a distance. So like that's why like I feel like patience is one of my biggest things. But if Sam is, you know, the best babysitter of the town, I'm just gonna be like, all right, Sam, they need a babysitter. Like, she got it.
Right. So obviously, like, I feel like if anything that we want to work on for real is definitely like having the fruits of the spirit. Like, you know, I feel like that should be our. So like the fruits of the spirit, whereas things like babysitting, if you know, girl, you not baby, like don't play yourself. Like, don't be like, oh, okay, because you know I gotta have patience. So let me babysit. Maybe you have patience in other areas, but it's not with kids. You know what I mean? So it's not that
another question when y'all finish.
You don't have the grace for the kids. If that, you know,
right?
So that's would y'all date someone with kids, or is it okay to date with kids?
This is what I have said. I've been saying that I'm about to be 25. So for me, like, I feel like now, no. But if I'm 30 and I'm still single, then the chances of someone having a kid is more likely than it right now.
So you say one kid. What if they have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6?
I'm gonna have to pray about it, Lafayette.
I'm at all of our faces went like
right.
But why?
But I mean, okay. I feel like God has people for that, and then just might not be me.
Oh, you above that?
No. What? No. See, that's how things get started. No. Okay, a perfect example I take like Sarah Jakes Roberts, right? She had 2 kids before she married Torrey, right? I think it takes a special man to have, you know, desire for his kids. Right, but he had a lot of kids too, and I think it's just the mindset. I think the mindset. I'm not opposed to it, even if a person had one kid right now. Things happen, but is he on fire for the Holy Spirit? And the Lord told me that's my husband, and I got to suck it up.
Okay.
I think, and this is the thing. Like, I think even with I find myself just like, you know, you think, oh, I'm gonna end up with a pastor. I'm gonna end up with somebody in a 5-fold ministries and so. But what if I don't? What if God don't have that person for me? What if he just a lay member in the Lord, ain't he gonna support me in all my endeavors and what I do? Mm-hmm. So
I don't know. I'm be real honest.
Because I've seen too a lot of young pastors be quick to get married. I've had one approach me and I was like, whoa there, pump the brakes. So I think it just depends on what God has for you, and like you might get someone that's not all the way together right now.
I don't feel
he might be
getting married. Not all the way together.
No, what I mean, no. What? Wait, because I know your definition of not all the way together. We can, no, it's not. But my definition of not all the way together. Maybe my relationship with God is a little bit more closer, or maybe I read early in the morning.
Maybe it
My
looks
mom's calling.
different, we should say.
Huh?
Maybe it looks different, we should say.
Yeah, you know, maybe I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, pray. He might wait until 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, that doesn't make him less holy than me because I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But in my head, old Tyrus, I know he don't get up at 6 o'clock like I do, so he ain't the one for me. Obviously, he not a man of God. That, you know, I can't think like that, and I'm realizing that, you know, now.
So this is my thing, right? Going back to the original question of would we? It goes back to my whole comment before about the whole kids thing.
Hey, Keon.
So for me,
I don't think. Okay, for me, I feel like it's preference. Like it would just be like, you know, do we want somebody who has to, like, it's just preference. Like preferably no, because preferably I don't want to be a big mama. Period. Like, you know, or not a big mama, a stepmama.
Stepmama.
I mean, because I don't know. I'm like young, and that's just not what I prefer. You know, like it's just.
But what if God send you one saying, what you gonna tell the Lord? No.
No, I said it's a preference.
But do you think God would put? Do you think God would make you endure something like that if you?
I don't think it's not. I don't think it's one of those things where like, oh, you've been cursed with someone with a child. That might be a blessing. It literally might be a blessing for your growth too. Like, I honestly feel like we don't know what God may be preparing. Like, you know, I just feel like there are women out there who don't want children of their own. That's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But and I'm working on that. But like, that could be a blessing for that woman too. Like, to be like, oh, you have children and I can love on these children as my own. I don't know. I just feel like there's options, but it's kind of just like.
What is
I'm sorry, that made me laugh.
If God ain't his first priority in the morning and on the throne of his life, yeah, he ain't the one for you.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I also think that I use my sister and him all the time. Like, she say all the time, Morris was a heathen before she really. Now he's saved and love the Lord. So, you know, and I think it just depends. Like, are y'all growing together? Like, I don't know. Like, I think because, okay, he might not pray first thing in the morning. Okay, but if he prayed, like, if we go from he didn't pray at all, but now he may be praying at like night, I think we working on something.
Yeah, because I prefer to pray at night, like when I take my showers.
I got a question. Okay, so then what does prayer look like then? Because then we'll have to define what prayer looks like, because it's like, okay, if God ain't his first priority in the morning, but like, how do we know God ain't his first priority? Like, what if in his mind he's just like, thank you, God? You know what I mean? So are we looking for him to be on his knees, like drenched with like with the anointing oil? Like, what do we mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's so valid, because I used to be like that. I'm like, I would be like, oh, if he ain't, you know, if he ain't preacher mentality, then obviously he ain't the one for me.
Oh, he had to be a preacher.
He had to be a preacher. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I've grown so much. Like, now,
first lady.
Come on, first lady, Tyra.
But now I don't want that. Nah, that ain't my ministry. But if you know, just if we go from he didn't want to do prayer at all, but now maybe a month later, and you've been praying for him, and now he like, can we pray or whatever? I think if he's making progress, I think we can work with that. Not fall in love with potential, but not fall in love with potential. But if he's making those steps, like, say, for instance, maybe he was a cussing sailor when y'all first talked, right? But you've been praying on it. Now you see, oh, he ain't said one cuss word. I didn't notice that, like a whole conversation about he ain't said one curse word. That might be he working on it, and he recognized that, hey, maybe. Huh?
So you just said you'll date a sinner.
We all sinners though, Lau.
You said you're a cussing sailor.
I said what?
You said he cussed like a sailor.
Yeah.
He saved cussing like a sailor.
I just said
Listen,
he wouldn't.
hey.
You know, I just said he was cussing, and then you say a month later he ain't said one curse word the whole conversation. I feel like God is working on him, and so go ahead. And so I'm just saying, like, we not perfect. We all sinners now. I might have not gossiped yesterday, but I accidentally did it today. You know, what I'm saying? We all sinners. Does that make
So
sense?
okay, I have two things. So first one is
I'm not-
this like who we're growing with? Is it in an exclusive relationship, or this is like prior to that, like friendship type of stuff, like talking?
I feel
And
like
then
both.
So you would date somebody knowing that, like, exclusively, like, be their girlfriend, be their boyfriend, whatever, knowing that, like, they're like cursing and you know,
But
not
that's unequally
and waiting.
in a way.
I just feel like none of us are all like there yet. I feel like we may all stumble. So I feel like I might not get married to that person, but courtship probably, yeah, because I feel like if that's the person for you, God's going to do the cleansing. We can't do
So
that
then
for them.
are we still okay? So my thing is, like, I'm trying to be careful with having a mentality that this person can change, because what if they don't ever change?
That's
And so
different.
it's
But you have to answer the question: is this person? Did God confirm it? If He did, then there's a yeah. I mean, God can change that person. It's just for it's perfect. It's like a perfect saying. He a person that maybe drinks all the time. He may not be, but God ordained that thing. Okay. You might not say it now, but in a few months they might put that drink down. It's like when I told you I was when I was reading Heather Lindsay's book. She had to stop being a control freak and not cook for him. And eventually he was going to eat healthy food, and now he is. So I think it's the same principle. I think we just, when we look at things like such as drinking, smoking, or whatever, I think then we have a problem with it. But it's other stuff such as the minor stuff. Are you eating healthy? No, I want you to eat healthy now. And I cook your food and now you throwing it in the trash because you don't want it. But if I pray for you, God, take that desire of unhealthy food away from him, and then he do, then it's the same thing as God take that weed from him or that drink from him.
What's the difference between that and dating a man who is from the Nation of Islam? Like y'all say y'all wouldn't talk to nobody. Yeah. Like, what's the difference?
So
I think y'all are unequally
right. True, but
you get what I'm saying?
So I think it only goes with if it's the person meant for you. You can't be dating just everybody like that and just then you put like that. What's the word I'm looking for? You can't date everybody that's like that. But if that you specifically know, like God done said that, I think God can change and will change that person if it's,
Okay. So okay, so I got in the comments. Monica says you have to be careful with our expectations because everyone has their own walk that looks different. If he is allowing God to work on him, that's what matters the most to me. And so
in fact, I agree.
So I feel like too, like, okay, because I know, like, in the church or whatever, they always say like, oh, like, don't do missionary dating, and don't feel like, and I think Heather even talks about it too, like, don't feel like you can change somebody, because obviously you can't change nobody, and we be feeling like maybe if I show this or show that, that person would change. And so my question, I talked to God about it, is just like, is it me having a mindset like I can change her or this person gonna change, or is it faith? Like, so how does that work? Because we're just like, okay, I have faith this person could change, or is it me saying this person gonna change? And then it's not never. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like you'd have to put a time limit on it, right? So maybe, okay, I'm interested in this person. I see that they're doing X, Y, and Z that I don't like. I'm going to tell them, first of all, that I don't really like that much. I'm going to give them the opportunity to change. And then it's like, okay, if by month 3, it's the same thing or it's worse, then, okay, maybe you're not the one for me. That's giving somebody the time to change. You can pray for them, ask God to do it, but when your time frame is up, right, and you're like, okay, this is still the same. All right, let me back away, because clearly you're not trying to change. And
so are we giving someone an ultimatum where it's
just
that's
like,
not
an ultimatum.
God
give us ultimatums.
I need you to change. Where it's just like, okay, I'm expecting you for you to change this area, and if you're not going to change, like, we're not going to talk anymore.
If that's so I'm like, if it's something that you just can't stand, like long term, then yeah, you got to get an ultimatum, because at the end of the day, it's your life. You have to live it according to you. You're not married.
So then which makes sense. But what I'm scared of is someone that is just like, okay, like, Samantha doesn't like this or whatever, so she basically gave me an ultimatum, like, I picking with her, whatever. So like, I'm gonna stop doing it. But like they might resent me because that's not what they really wanted to do, but they're changing this thing or not doing it anymore to please me, where I don't want to be like, let's say we don't end up together. I don't want this person resenting me because in their head they wanted to do this thing and they wasn't doing it because they know Samantha don't like that. I don't know. Like, is that?
So I might be taking an ideal approach to things, but I feel like that's why it's so important to have these conversations with God so early, like always and in the beginning, because me and Ty talk about this sometimes, and it's kind of how, like, Now it's going to the point where, Jesus, do I answer this DM? Like, do I respond to a DM? Do I, pick up the phone to, this person at this time? Like, it starts to get that important, because I don't think we're going to know on our own, like, oh, should I just be faithful and hope that he could, because Jesus does the changing. Jesus is the one that handles the situation that's happening in their heart. So I feel like we won't know when that may happen, when that won't. And all we can do, like Laf was saying, is like focus on ourselves. But I feel like the only way we can know if we're supposed to keep on keeping on versus stop is when we listen to God, and when we seek wise counsel, and when we literally put all priority, like, put this relationship in priority, like prioritize this relationship with him, I should say, as the focal point. And I guess it gets kind of difficult when they're not a Christian themselves, or if you're talking to someone that may not know God yet. But I feel like if you focus on Christ, then you start to know, like, I feel like there's wisdom that I'm gaining earlier on, like, listen, not now, don't do that. Or versus, well, you can become their friends. Well, like, so I think this is even important for friendship too, or like, anybody you encounter. Like, let God really lead it, because that hurt that comes in the end when you don't let him lead it, it's not worth it.
Right. Okay. So we have less than 15 minutes because it's an hour long, y'all. But let's go ahead and see what the friends have to say. So Keon says he even have to be on his knees, man. He could just be standing up, saying, giving thanks and acknowledging when before he go to work or starts his day. So Keon is basically saying, like, if God is literally, he don't wake up in the morning and God, like, he don't give God things, like, it ain't like it's enough.
Right. But what if you can't? What if you don't see it the way?
Yeah.
Like, you don't see it the way you want to see it. That's my thing. Like, I understand that there are different types, because call it what you want. But in the mornings, I'm a very to myself type of person. I need my own time. Some people may call it introvert. So I would rather pray in the shower, like away from or like not. If I lived with someone, I don't know, I don't, but I wouldn't want to do it right there up in their face so they can see that I serve God. Like, it may not look the same.
I feel like too, also, like, now are we talking about marriage now? Or are we, because I feel like,
right, because I was thinking marriage in my head.
But I think when we're, as well as if we're courting someone, I think it's important to know, like me, I just recently, like 2 months ago, started getting up early, making and reading, because I prefer seeing it at night. Growing up, my mom would just always be in her quiet time, read at night, and so it could just like, it could be in her heart like all night. And I grew up watching that, and so that's like how I started doing it, like kind of routine. Now I'm starting to like wake up. That didn't make me any less of a Christian because I did it at night. I see the importance of making Christ the center first thing in the morning. I definitely see the importance of that now, but I also think everyone's faith journey is different. And I think especially if you're courting someone and dating someone, they might not do everything like you, but are they trying? Do they at least, do they get excited about reading the word, or do they get excited about prayer time, regardless of what time it is? I think as we grow mature in Christ, I think we start to recognize, okay, I need to make this priority before I do anything else the rest of the day. Let me make this the priority. But I think that comes with time. And again, it's just like especially when I'm courting someone, I always think of, I'm not all the way there yet. I might seem like it to the outer appearance of someone that may not know me, but I know Tyra got to work on some stuff. Does that make me less of a good potential mate because I got to work on some things in some areas? Now, some things in my book are non-negotiable. To me, yes, I would rather a person who believes in Christ. But okay, if you say you got, my cousin call it a cursing demon. So if you like a cursing, you got that cursing demon all the time. I don't like that, no. But over time, if I see why he's really changing, I see less and less curse words coming out of his mouth, or now he's having a desire to change. I think once we have that encounter with Jesus, a lot of times he will change us within the inside, and then our language will start. The way we talk is different. Right. The way we walk is different. The way we dress is different. All that is different. So
to even say like, people like, okay, like even like the cursing thing or whatever, which I gotta read these comments that people are saying, but like with the whole cursing thing, it's just like, look, because I look at the fruit, like, yes, sometimes your mouth might be whatever, but like sometimes they be better than the people that be in a church that don't be cursing. Like, like people in the church be always gossiping and do all this stuff. So it's just like we're picking and choosing. Yes, like this is verbal, and obviously like, you know, they're like, I don't know, to me, like curse words or using curse words is just like nonsense. It's purposeless, you know what I mean? But I have an understanding of it like that, whereas somebody else didn't. And what if like that's again learned behavior, like everybody in their house curse, you know? And so like, and once a time ago I was cursing, so like, you know what I mean? So like, and I was a Christian, so you know, I guess giving that person grace, but obviously not like settling, I guess, for that. Let's see what, okay. Eric says, it really depends on where he is going, because if he is trying and find his way, then you never know. Also, you have to know yourself before you're ready for a relationship too. So I guess, I think, Monica has said it. She was like, you know, you have to know what you can handle. And again, like what Jasmine was saying, you know, making sure that you're like, you know, making that relationship or that friendship, whatever it is, like, you bring it up to God, like, God, this is what it is. And then he's gonna give you the grace. You know what I mean? Like, some people might not be able to handle that. Like, Lafayette is just like, look, if you cut, I can't handle that. I just can't. Like, and that's, you know, that's fine. Where maybe Tyra is just like, you know, God give you the grace where it's just like, it's okay, be patient with that person. And then going back to like even friendships, like, you know, I feel like friendships, I consider that relationships as well. And it's like, if I'm spending time with that person and that person may curse, like sometimes like, I'll get around people, they may curse and they don't curse around me because they know like, oh, we don't curse around. I never told them not to. They just don't do that in front of me. And then they find other languages to use. And my students, I teach, like my students do the same thing. So Keon says, I learn to study people before I make that decision, in my opinion. The reason why I said that is because God will show you some pros and cons about that individual where we can't ignore. And I think, that's like for me, true. I always ask God, like, I'm like, God, show me this person's heart, because I feel like once you know, like, God can reveal to you this person's heart, you know, like, okay, this is something that I can, you know, work on, or this is something that can be, and have faith that things will change, or have faith that, you know, he will see this for himself and God will begin to change him from the inside out. For sure, because like, but if it's hard, because sometimes like people can put on a good front, they don't curse, they don't do none of that, and have
the devil inside of them, like my mama
literally be wicked. So like, just because somebody might show you something from the outer doesn't mean that in the inside they're not clean. Like they might be still, that it might still be a process. Whereas somebody can look good all the way from the outside and
so have hell in the inside.
Do y'all think that with that, like God showing you that person, do y'all think that you have to go on dates and stuff to learn that, or do you think that God will just show you that without getting to know that person first?
No, I think you have to spend time with somebody. Okay. Personally, I can't speak for everybody.
So how long is too long before, or how long do y'all, or for in your personal experience, how long has it taken y'all to kind of know, like, okay, this person is for me or not for me, or is it different each time?
I feel like everybody's answer is different. I feel like every situation is different, because I don't know. I can't answer that. I think everyone's situation is different. I feel like once you actually know, like God, you feel it in your spirit, I feel like you'll have a peace, maybe a confirmation and stuff. And like I said, we are not all together. I was just talking to my sister about this today. Like, I think as Christians, we always just focus on one particular sin. But it's like every sin is like, you know, we need to focus on pride is a sin, jealousy is a sin, anger, even knowing somebody's gift and and letting them use that gift. It's just so much that we can talk about. So I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like everybody just be struggling. And I think that's why God's grace is so sufficient. And I think that, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm sorry. Me, that's just my honest answer.
Yeah, I can't give like, oh, I did this and it's whatever. But what I can say is like, I feel like, you know, God can reveal that person's heart, or like their attention, that God can, if you're like intentionally asking God for it. But I feel like spending time with that person allows you to see their fruits, because it says God tells us to test their fruits. Like, so we should be seeing fruit. So, you know, you say this, like, do you do this? Like, so the fruits, I feel like us being able to see the fruits, like, do they have the fruits of the spirit? What fruits are they bearing? It takes time, and it takes you having to like get to know that person to see like where are the fruits in it. Whereas their heart, like, I believe that's something that you personally, what God is just like, God, like, reveal to me their heart, or show me their heart. You know
show me their heart. That's good. Yeah. That's
like,
good. That's the difference. I think that's the difference, personally.
Yeah.
I know we had like a whole bunch of comments and we got 5 minutes.
Yeah. We got like 4 minutes. Okay, so Lourdes says, I think you should have faith that God will show you if they're for you or not, and you'll see that through the change and growth of that person.
That's what
that's exactly what I was saying. I totally agree.
God will show you if they're for you or not. Yeah,
you gonna feel it too.
I just guess having faith, because sometimes, like for me, like I be feeling guilty because I'm just like, okay, God, like I do want them to change, but like I don't like want to like be that person that's like, oh, you got changed because I'm not. But then again, it's just like, okay, God, I'm gonna have faith that I'm gonna see that. You know what I mean? So I was like kind of like, I didn't know if like because I feel bad whenever I feel like I'm not doing things like godly, whatever. But I'm just like, okay, God, is this faith or is just me wanting to see somebody change? But Sandra says, speak fast, Jasmine. I have put that up there when you're talking. They sound like that shirt tower. Okay, Monica says some people have gotten that far in their walk to start their mornings like that. And we don't want to assume that if they don't reference God in the morning, they are not devoted to Christ. Just be vigilant and see what areas of their walk they are strong in. And to be honest, like there's sometimes in the morning, like I don't reference God in the morning. Like I'll just be like,
I'm gonna be real.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like sometimes it's like, okay, when I'm driving to work or something like that. So, and then there was a season where I literally like you couldn't talk to me nothing without me like spending that hour 30 minutes, whatever, with God, like, you know. So again, like that's why like I feel like now I have more grace to that, where it's just like, yikes, like I don't kind of do that in the morning anymore, like where I used to spend like intentional time, like, you know, studying and stuff like that, because I like to teach, so I like when I get into where I'm studying it. But so again, I guess I agree with Monica, like just you got to be vigilant to see, like maybe it's not in the mornings, maybe you don't know what they do in their quiet time, maybe they can go sit in a car and they spend that time with God before they get on the road. You know what I mean? Facts. So maybe don't happen in the house while they're getting ready, because maybe they feel like they're being distracted, they're not giving God their all. So maybe they sit in the car for a while, or they sit in the car before they go into their work or go into the school and give that.
And real quick, I also look at too, like if they're asking questions like, oh babe, like why is it that you pray in the morning? Can you explain that more? Like all that goes into like my when I'm looking for character and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Zay.
Hey Zay.
Monica was agreeing with you. So Sandra was saying, can y'all please expound? So we literally have like 2 minutes, but I know y'all was in the comments, so I guess we're gonna stay over. Y'all let us know if y'all want to go over, because it's supposed to be an hour.
If you want us to go over, let us know, Chad.
Sandra says, can y'all please expound more on the importance of having non-negotiables in a relationship? That's such a key point.
I think that and the goal should be marriage, or you should be committed. Some people don't want to get married, but you know, if the goal is marriage or commitment, if you don't have non-negotiables, you'll find yourself mad at people over stuff they didn't even know was a problem.
Yes. Resentment grows.
Like, hey, I don't like when you smoke, or I don't like when you spend all night with your mama and I'm here with you. Like, you know, that kind of thing. Like, and you know, somebody truly may not know that you didn't like that. So putting it out front, like, hey, this is what I'm not willing to put up with. Of course, word it better than that, because that's kind of rude. But you know, like just let them know, like, hey, I prefer this. I don't like this. And if you see that they can't hold that up, then that's not the one, and that's okay. Maybe y'all are better off as friends or associates. But I think that you're saving yourself from a lot of anger and, you know, whatever by just putting that out there first.
Monica said keep going. We gotta cut it off. We gotta come back. Okay. Come back, y'all. Come back. Don't go nowhere.
No, I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, so yeah. So she's saying like the points of how non-negotiables. Like, okay, I feel like for sure, and you have to know yourself, and you have to be like, okay, these are things that I can, like, this is just it. Like this I can't we can't compromise on this thing. And sometimes we have non-negotiables, but I guess like what Lafayette was saying, we don't communicate these things, right? So it's just like you can't just assume this person knows what your non-negotiables are, and then you get mad at them, or you don't even say when you're mad, or they're crossing that boundary, or doing this thing. Like these things have to be communicated. Now there are things where you can like make a list, like these are my non-negotiables, and then these. Okay, I might not prefer that, or I might prefer this, but this, like, we can compromise this. You know what I mean? So you have to know that for yourself, and you got to make sure your non-negotiables.
My cousin said something that's true.
Your non-negotiables are communicated for sure, or you're gonna feel resentful. You feel like you're wasting time. You're gonna feel hurt, and nobody know why they're hurting you, because you didn't say that. Like, we didn't know you didn't like the dishes. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta communicate that.
So, just for me adding to that comment, first of all, hey Dre, that's my close friend, y'all.
Hey Dre.
Hey Dre, what's up, Dre?
But we got comments on it. Go ahead.
Just adding to that point, I feel like for me, non-negotiables are so important because I worry about myself and how I may fall. Like if I don't have negotiables that come before a relationship, or like non-negotiable before I come into a relationship, because I love you. Now I may be like, oh, well, that's not important. And now I lose myself in the sense of not having things that I'm sticking to because of this quote unquote love that Jasmine has learned. So now I have non-negotiables for that reason.
That's good.
My cousin, I love how my cousin said, be yourself.
Which
and if
one?
the person, Zay Mac, be yourself, and if the person is for you, they'll change, not just for you, but for themselves. And I think that's,
and you know what that is?
Facts.
And you know what that is? It's out of respect. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because if you're saying like maybe my non-negotiables, they're not as strict or whatever as yours, but because I love you and because I honor you, because you know I respect you. Okay, like I understand your boundaries and your non-negotiables, and I'm willing to apply by those because out of respect for you. So not all the time they're gonna feel that same way you may feel, but if you communicate these things and they really do love you, or they really want to like, you know, grow with you or get to know you, and they respect you, like they'll do it out of respect. You know what I mean? So if they're not willing to do it, then they don't respect you. Or if they like intentionally like try to go over that boundary, then they don't really respect you. And now you know, like this person don't respect me, and they gotta go. Like
right. And I think that's it. The communication. I think this generation just don't want to communicate a lot of times.
We communicate. We don't like to talk.
or we
so
listen. Or we communicate. We don't listen because there's a difference. There's a difference between hearing and listening. You might just be talking, but I'm not even hearing what you're talking because I'm ready for my next attack. Like I'm ready for you to quit talking so I can say what I gotta say. That's not communication,
right?
Yeah,
that's
true.
When
like you got somebody who like they don't want to talk, they prefer to text their problems out. So like how do y'all?
There's different ways to communicate, y'all.
Okay, so
because
listen.
That's
so
a no-no for me. I don't believe in that. Like.
So that, and you have to communicate that because someone else who may not like, they might feel that as confrontation. They might say like, okay, I'd rather text this thing than be in the person's face. Whereas somebody doing that, you may take that as like rejection or oh, like why would you do that? And they're thinking like this is the way I need to do it because I don't want them to like think that I'm being confrontational with it.
Yeah.
What Lauren say?
Okay, so Paige said everyone says different devotion times when they know it will be meaningful. I agree. That's how I do it too. Good. Like I can't just give God 10 minutes when I know I can give him an hour because I like to be in the presence for an hour. People pretend well, but
that's my cousin.
Will be revealed. Yes, Carol. That's Eric says every relationship is different, and you have to spend time with that person. Is important to finding out who that person is, and
that's
if you can grow with that person.
Hey,
hey, friends. All right. Monica said this is great. Keep going.
Thank
all right.
you.
Keon says we all have some type of struggles that we're dealing with. I know me and my wife does, and we still learning and growing together. We both learned that the change have to start with us before we start thinking about changing each other. Change have to come from the individual itself. I had a thing. I wanted to say something. I think what Jasmine was talking about, or the thing like even like Lafayette like saying about the whole texting thing and us like texting through like okay, so let's say you're married and you guys are doing this in our dating relationship and y'all's married, like you mean to tell me that you're gonna be in the other room and you gonna text me what you got going on?
Let me explain myself because I feel like y'all are coming for me.
No,
I ain't say nothing, Jasmine. I ain't say nothing.
No, I'm just joking, Sam. I'm just joking. But no, what I'm saying is, so I realize that there's different type of people that deal with conflict in different ways. For example, I'm the type of person, and y'all don't come for me, but if we're having a conversation right here, it might be on some rah stuff if we're in person, if we're doing it like if we're doing it like that. So for me, I may take a step back and write, not text specifically, but for me, I may need some time to write something down or like to actually collect my thoughts because sometimes, especially with the height of emotions, thoughts can go anywhere, whether it's sadness, anger, whatever, my emotions go anywhere. So I can understand why someone's like, hey, I'm going to text this out. Maybe we can talk about it later because sometimes text can get confusing because it's like, how am I reading it? But just in general, I understand the fact of like, hey, let me take a step back. Let me not be in your face because sometimes emotions can come with being in person all the time. So I'm one of those people that may send a text message and kind of just be like, read it and we'll talk about it later. Or maybe we can discuss it over the phone and not in person.
That's such a cliffhanger. Like...
Yeah, no, we'll talk about it eventually, but I'm just saying, like, I just feel like for me,
what if it's something serious, right? Like,
I like to talk about it right now.
It depends on the argument.
For me, I don't. If I'm really angry, I don't talk when I'm angry because I'll say something that I may not necessarily mean or just in that moment. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you, hey, I just went out with your best friend on a date and be like, but we're going to talk about it next week when I feel like it's a good time. Like, no, that's not okay.
See, the topic is a big thing too, because see, at that moment, I would need to talk about that immediately because wait a minute. But what I'm saying, I feel like I'm not, for me, a lot of the times when I do like send a message or I write a letter or something like that, it's not an argument per se, it's just a disagreement, or it's just I want to express myself. And sometimes expressing yourself with other people, especially depending on what type of personality they have, is not always so easy. So if I know that there's somebody that gets loud, it's dead. I'm not gonna sit there and let you like express yourself yet. So let's go ahead and go on our separate corners and find a way to process in a different way, if that makes sense.
So Keon says that's facts, and Lauren says, yes, Jasmine, big facts. I have experiences too. It's the process or introvert, any boundaries are key. So I agree, because like I'm like that as well. Like sometimes like someone may be coming to me with something, or maybe they're upset, or they're wanting to talk or something, and they come up to me, and I like to like process things. And so sometimes I know like I didn't know that about myself until people kept pointing it out, and they would literally get upset with me. Like they'll get mad at me because like I was quiet. But I'm like, I'm quiet because I'm processing it before I say something. And so they took it as I didn't care about whatever they're talking about, or I didn't care about the situation, or I was just like ignoring or whatever. I'm like, that wasn't the case. So I definitely believe that like, especially like, you know, you growing and you learning about yourself and like being like introspective, is like you need to know like what you do insert like in when people are communicating, because that way you could tell that person like, look, like it's not that I don't care, or it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's just that I'm processing this before I say something back, because I don't want to just say something and you like, you know, whatever you didn't like how Tyra was saying, like sometimes we're just waiting for us to now say whatever we want to say. Like, no, like I'm trying to figure out where did we disagree on and figure out where was the miscommunication, so I can say, okay, this is what you said, blase, blase, blase. So that's how I am, and I'm kind of like more of like introverted too, where it's just like okay, I hear you. All right, now I can say what I say, and people used to get so upset with me, like, so you just gotta communicate that. But I feel like too, what if your person or that person is more of a, no, I need to see you face to face, like we need to talk this out face to face, like, so what are you gonna do in that situation? Like, I'm gonna be like, let me go in the room and write it down right quick, like, you know, like, so like, like how is it gonna work?
I'm like, I'm honestly, I think my cousin just put on there, you have to separate, just never let the sun set with you being upset with each other. I'm really big on that. Even if I get in, and my parents can attest, if we get in an argument or something, I have to apologize before the night is over, because there's been so many situations where people did not get a chance to apologize, and that person was not here the next day. Right. And so I always, so you can have your time, but as long as before midnight and before I go to bedtime, we can talk about it. Whether that's text, I prefer FaceTime or in person, just because I think a lot of times text can get misconstrued a lot of times. And me, the way I be overthinking, I be thinking you yelling at me when you really kind of calm. And so if I think you're yelling at me, now I have to yell back. So it's just
I agree, but I do think that there's a difference between not being upset with someone and not feeling at odds and handling a situation. So I can come to a point with you where we can be like, okay, like, I don't want to be angry. I want to apologize for like the raising of the voice, the emotions that we've been involved in it. But the conversation at its core of what we're having an issue with, I don't think that has to be dealt with at the moment. I think there's a way that you can bring peace back into the relationship in a sense, and it may not be talking about the exact situation that you were arguing about.
But you ever stop like for a moment to think about all this stuff you're going to say, like before, like let's say you do wait to talk to somebody, right? And now you're like, I'm gonna bring this up while I'm at it. Let me bring this up too. And now that's why I would rather talk like, hey, you hurt my feelings here. This is why you hurt my feelings, and it be the end of that. Because you brought back stuff that they don't remember.
I mean, if you can do it, why not? For some people, it's just not that easy to be like, hey, you hurt my feelings, I want to talk about it now. Like, it may not come that easy, because I'm worried that I literally just been through this situation. So it's so interesting that we're talking about it, but I'm worried that I may offend you by, you know, calling you out, or there's so many thoughts, and it might be just my mind being an overthinker, but it may not be as easy for me to be like, hey, you did something offensive. apologize, especially when you don't know what they are thinking as well. So there's some situations where it's easy. It's kind of just like, hey, like, you was rude. Why you say it like that? Of course you can like just talk to them right then and there. But I just think that for me, and I think it's very important to state that when you are going to get some time to get your mind together, it's not to make a better argument. Like, I'm not going to be like point A, point B, you did this, you did that. No, it's for me to literally be like, Jasmine, how do you actually feel away from the anger? What actually upset you? What was your trigger? What made you feel like you had to become emotional about this said thing? And like I said, it doesn't always have to be anger. Sometimes somebody can make you sad, or somebody can make you like worried or something like that. And it's kind of just like, let me figure out what I'm actually feeling away from emotions, to have a legitimate conversation in a sense.
Which I agree. And I feel like, again, that just has to be communicated, because sometimes, like, and I think you would have to like tell that person, like, you know what, I'm not gonna give a response. Like, how about like you go pray, or you do whatever, I'm gonna go pray, and we gonna come back together and talk about it. Because what I don't want is for us to just say things out of anger, which is never good, because what we're gonna be doing, like, is this like, at the end of the day, I believe that every conversation, even like, and I don't like to argue, but even conversations that is that kind of gonna be like sort of be heated, it should still be glorifying God. So it's just like, do you think the words that gonna come out of your mouth gonna edify me? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, sometimes like when we're arguing, it's for my point. And sometimes it was like, we're on the same page. It's just the way you're communicating, the way I'm communicating, it sounds different. So sometimes we'll go back, let's come together when it's not heated, in the heat of the moment. So we're not saying things that we're going to regret, and then we'll come together, and then, we'll figure, okay, so this is what happened. You know what I mean? So I don't think like Jasmine is just like, okay, I'm going to tear him up with this, like, but it's just like, no, like, to promote and keep the peace within like our union, or whatever, for a marriage or a relationship, whatever the case is, to keep the peace. But this is what's happening. We got comments coming in.
Okay.
So Keon was saying, not letting sun going down on your wrath, and Zay said that was good. Lauren says, in some situations, you have to compromise. Like Sam said, communication is key, right? Facts. So I feel like, if you are a person that's just like, I'm better of a writer, and that's like me too. Like, I'm better writing down my emotions on paper. But if that person is seeking for, no, I need to hear what you have to say out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be like, okay, well, out of,
I'm gonna sing you a song.
Him, like, I'm a compromise. I'm gonna compromise this time around, and so okay, like, I just gotta say it however it comes out, because sometimes I think like, it's like, I don't know how this is gonna come out for real, and it's just like, something you gotta just say it, because the person wants to hear exactly how you feel right now.
Say it with your chest,
but just come correct when I say it is all I'm saying, right? Because if I come at you,
we got somebody watching from Dominican Republic.
Hey.
What's the Dominican Republic?
Yes.
I'm finna move there.
What?
Khalil says facts, Jazz.
Hey,
it's different
Khalil.
for everyone.
Hey, Khalil.
Some people literally don't know how to properly communicate what they want to say right out the gate. Keon says words and tones can have a way damaging one another. Exactly.
Come on.
I'm learning to hit the reset button and switch lanes when it comes to communicating the right way.
That's
says that's right. Wait, hold on. Let me get.
Y'all missed my mama. My mama put a comment too. She said,
yeah, she did. I gotta get there. Hold on. So.
Hey,
okay,
mommy.
Already. So Zay was saying, be yourself, and the person's for you, they'll change if not for themselves. Khalil says, of course, you have to have a certain confidence and maturity in yourself to be able to follow through with your non-negotiable, which is so true. Because we can say this is our non-negotiable, but like, if somebody were to cross it, be like, get shy a little bit.
What's one non-negotiable for y'all? I'll go first.
I know.
Okay, go ahead, Love. Go ahead.
If you go to somewhere nice, don't act the fool, please. Like,
what does a fool look like? What that mean? What do you mean? Don't act the fool?
In that movie, it was Tyler Perry's movie. Gabrielle Union had went on a date with that man. It's like, and they were at a really nice establishment. It's like,
Julia.
So we ain't got no bread. Where the shrimps at? Like, like
acting up. Look, he said, like say, you're not gonna come in here acting like a child up in this nice facility.
Okay, so one of my okay, so for me, no sex till marriage, and if you got a problem with that, then you are out the door. And we talk about our non-negotiable. What if they're like, that ain't gonna work with me? Then what's y'all response?
You gonna meet them halfway?
No. Not me. I'm speaking in general.
What is halfway? Let me
Yeah,
know.
we
Hold
can
on.
establish what
That doesn't make it a non-negotiable. That makes it
that's not a non-negotiable.
negotiable.
No, I guess what I'm saying is, are there different categories of meeting halfway and other categories that are not? No, I'm moving on to the next.
No
Like we're
sexual
talking about.
immoralities.
No, y'all. I'm not talking about.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about are there.
Go ahead.
Are there
No,
any
y'all.
non-negotiables that are like in the middle? She's saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about
something that you're willing to compromise on.
yeah, so like the whole
So then
thing,
you-
like, okay, you might like to text apologies, I might like to talk in person, stuff like that. Like, what are some of those in the middle things that are also non-negotiables for another
In
person?
the middle, nothing that's non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's my again. That's why I said like have a list. These are my this we ain't even talking about this. This isn't even on the table. This is my non-negotiable. And then this, yeah, we can work with it. You know what I mean? Like,
so
but
what
you
are
can
those?
have a preference.
Mm-hmm. So what are those examples? What are some examples?
For example, like for me, I'm just like, I'm like, look, I said this like what in 2017 or 2018. I think 2018. I was just like, look, I don't want to kiss until marriage. Okay. Now I'm like, okay, that's listen. I'm like, that's negotiable now. Okay. Listen, okay.
Ooh,
so now I'm like, okay, like that could be like that could be put on the table. Like we can talk about it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas other things is just like, no, we're not talking about that. Like you can't. That's it. But that is just like, I mean, this is what I prefer, and this is like, but I could bring that to the table. We can discuss.
So if you dating Sam, you ain't kissing till y'all wedding day.
You said she'll think about it.
So Lauren says, if you are willing to meet in the middle, is by definition not a non-negotiable. Maybe it's a preference. Then.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Janae says, y'all are too funny. Okay,
go up to somebody Norton.
Yeah, Keon said, non-negotiable should be something that should be determined before we determine to be married. It's best to get them out now or later on. Some surprise gonna be showing up that's gonna wow you. I agree.
But you see, but this is my thing. I worry that I have non-negotiables that were created that probably don't make sense no more. So I have to reevaluate something. Like, I feel like one of my non-negotiables before was like, for example, what we were talking about before, like, oh no, he can't have no kids. That's a non-negotiable. So I think it's always a good thing to like reevaluate, like why you're why they're non-negotiables. Because sometimes it can be out of just being
maybe life hasn't happened to you yet, or
or maybe you're just shallow or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes like out of bitterness, like he didn't.
I can't have a guy that do. So I think you really have to. Your non-negotiable should align also with your morals and values, and kind of have to be in a sense like let God lead some of them too. Because I feel like sometimes a non-negotiable like he can't. I don't even want to bring it up, but like
he can't wear red sneakers.
Or he can't have below 60K.
Go there. Go
there.
Well, go there. I ain't want to go there, but I'm just saying, like some of your non-negotiables you gotta watch.
So because
that becomes a list, though. I think no.
Okay, 60K.
No, it's not a list. It's not. I don't think it's necessary.
So y'all not dating a man that made less than $60,000?
That was Jasmine.
Hey, I ain't say. Hey, listen. What I was saying was there was a past Jasmine that may have had some non-negotiables that could have been a little bit shallow, and sometimes you gotta watch. You gotta watch what these non-negotiables are, where they're coming from, because sometimes we have this ideal Disney Channel prince coming in our house, and you got to be like, hey, so why was this a non-negotiable for me? Why am I now cutting out and doing all this?
Like for example, for me, like when I was saying like, okay, I was like, we ain't kissing, doing that, whatever. And it was just like out of like this is what I wanted. So then I mean I'm not in a situation because I feel like it's so healthy or it's so wise to like be like going to God about these things before you get like you start dating somebody, because you might realize you turn all your non-negotiables to negotiables, right? So it's just like even like right now, like I'm single and it's just like I made that like we could put that on the table because like learning more about myself and learning more about others is like there are ways that people. This may be how they want to feel loved or whatever the case is, or what I mean? Like that wasn't something that's just like, okay, we can't do this, but something, you know what I mean? So it's just like be more considerate about other people, and it's not just okay, Samantha said this. So but yeah, so that's why that kind of went into like okay, that's negotiable.
I'm sorry, there's one more. What's an interesting, I guess, negotiable that is a lot of other people's non-negotiables? There was a situation where I was like watching TV and they were like, would you move away to like another country if he got a job or something like that? That means away from your family and things like that. And for me, that's on the table. Like if my
It's time
husband
to
got to
pack
move,
up the bags and move to Galilee.
if my husband has to move, you moving, Ty?
You gonna leave?
You leaving Duval?
You leaving your?
I've left before.
Period.
No,
That's
but for a man.
Wait.
But for marriage, not
married?
for a man.
No,
No, for
if we're
marriage.
married, then yeah, if he had to move to across the country. I don't know what's been going on in the U.S. of A. a lot of times. So,
but what if you have a job, Ty?
See, that's something
Okay,
that
but
needs to be talked about.
then it needs to be talked about. But like me, I'm a reporter. I feel like I can find a job anywhere.
Yeah,
So
I would move. Like that's not.
I
That's
would
the
move
thing.
too.
You wouldn't?
So this is. I would move.
I would move too.
See, that's the thing. These are things that needs to be talked about because, like, that's a good point. Because what if you're like, I'm not trying to leave where I'm at right now, but what if somebody is like, you know, like a reporter or something, and they're like, or a minister, or whatever the case is, and they're traveling around or whatever, and it's going to require you to leave or for you to be distanced. Are you willing to handle that? And so
it depends on where we moving. I'm not gonna lie, but
what if there was somebody that
it would depend on for me where I'm in my career. I feel like,
True.
or you know, if
but
I have,
you get to make the choice. I don't say you get to make the choice.
Not in the marriage because both people have a say so. But
yeah,
we got comments I want to get to as well. Go ahead.
But I was saying, like, you know, I feel like if I'm in a place to where I can provide for us both, or I'm getting to that place, and you are still maybe entry level, or you know, it may not entry level. Like we don't want that, but you know, it happens. So it's like, you know, if we're in a place where I can provide for us, and why would we move that, you know, and risk me not being able to provide anymore if that were the case?
But what if God is telling y'all to move?
In that case, I ain't got nothing to say on it. We move.
Right, no facts. I mean,
but if it's
with God
to us and we don't,
right.
True, you got to go to God about everything.
Yeah.
Period.
But if it's an option where we don't really need to move, but we can, like, why don't we just do what's best financially for us? So if you're the breadwinner and you need to move, we going. But if I'm the breadwinner,
see, I don't like that though. Because like I feel like it's not the same thing if it was the other way around. Like if the woman was the breadwinner, she's gonna be like, we up and move. I think that's gonna be a thing for
just like that.
But why?
Chosen to be says, look, if he moves, I move, period.
Just like that. And that's who you move. Just like that.
But if God says, look, if God ain't saying we ain't going nowhere.
I'm like, God, you're gonna have to speak. I'm gonna need to hear your voice. I need you to help me pack some bags, child.
But listen. What if God tells the man, you know, he gives the man like, I need you to do this, but he don't give it to you, like,
ooh, Chile.
You gotta. I think you gotta. Yeah, I was
like,
saying
he gives it to the spouse. But okay, what if Lafayette? What if God gives it to your wife, but he don't give it to you? Like,
my thing is, if we're married, I trust my spouse enough to be able to say, okay, I've seen God speak through her before. So we're moving. Like, you know, it's one thing if, you know, you a sinner and you just, you know, living wild out here. You like, hey, God said, move. I'm like, oh, let's go.
But Locke, you said something so important though, that you know that God speaks through your wife. There's so many men who are so intimidated by the calling that are on their wives' lives. I have seen it, and they're so intimidated. And okay, God told you, gonna tell me so. No, but if He don't tell you, He just told me. Are you gonna trust me to know? Like,
right? And
but that's a whole other topic for another day.
That is, but like that, but that's true too, because it says, like, God says, yes, you are the head, but it says submit to her, like you submit, like y'all could be supposed to submit to each other. You know what I mean? Y'all are one. So it's like, and I feel like that's a test of your faith as well, because it's like, you know, God's saying, like, I put y'all together, like, you know what I mean? Like, if y'all came in agreement and this is who I put together for you, and I spoke to this person and I didn't necessarily give you that same, like, are you gonna move out of faith of like this? I know this person, you know, is one, you know, speaks to God or has heard from God, and vice versa as a woman, where it's just like, I know you don't be like praying like how we praying to God, like, God, why you didn't tell me this in my quiet time? You know what I mean? Like, he don't really pray like that, so what he heard from me?
I'm not gonna lie,
like,
I hear y'all, but I'm not gonna lie, I hear y'all, but that would be like I said, that one's on the table for me, because I know that that's a me thing. Like, if God tells my husband, like, hey, like, we have to move, and I'm in my career and I'm like quote unquote, you know, flourishing, and he's like, oh, you gotta go. Oh, I'm a really, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna seek to hear from God. And yes, I would pray that, you know, to believe my husband as well, but I'm just like,
No, I'm just saying there are
But what
men
if
that
God
are
don't tell you?
intimidated.
But Jazz, what if he don't tell you?
I'm hopeful. This is what I'm gonna say. I hope that when I get to the stage of marriage and loving this someone, I can imagine it a little bit more. Right now, in where I am, it's kind of hard to like imagine me being like.
But I think for me, it wouldn't bother me because I like to travel. I like going
Me
new
too.
places.
Me
So it's
too.
like,
but what if you're
not
going
even-
to? I don't want to drop any countries down. You know, I don't want to rate countries. But you're not. What if you like? What
I
if
don't want
like,
to go to Pakistan or.
Yeah.
But what if
you
God
know,
says
what if?
I'm gonna have to pray about that one.
What if God is not happy with her bread?
Okay,
Yeah,
let me Sam comments.
We got comments.
Okay, yeah.
too.
Yeah, so Keon says, gotta make sure God's telling you and not your own self telling you. Yes.
That's
And
fact.
Zay says that's when you pray and trust that it's in him. And I think that's why we have to make sure that we're equally yoked, because like if you doubt it, like you knew this person wasn't equally yoked with you, and now he's telling you this, he heard from God, you're kind of like, baby, he's like, what you mean? Like, I've been pressuring you to come to church this whole time. Like, what you talking about? God ain't tell me God gonna tell you that. So it's important too that we're equally yoked, and again, making sure that even when we're dating this person, we're letting them know, like, look, like, you know, these are questions that we can ask, like, would you be willing to move if blase, blase, blase? Because some people really would not. Like, that probably will break a marriage or break whatever it is, because they're like, I'm not going, you know? So, like, these things need to be communicated. Keon has said, non-negotiables for me, no black and mild cigarette breath or alcohol breath, and baby daddy drama. Bless God, I don't have that in my union.
Well, you was blessed. Hallelujah. God bless you.
But black and mild cigarette breath, that's
Lift
very
your
specific.
hands. No,
She's
God
talking
bless
about
you.
somebody
Not
specific.
the black and mild bread.
Black and mild breath. Zay says it's for better or for worse. So you take that person for who they are. That's why it's important to pray and see God for your mate, because when you say I do, you take them for their good and bad, and that is true. Like, for better or for worse. For
That's my cousin.
Like,
He be telling the truth. You feel me?
Listen, Zay, thank you. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure that I got these over here. Serenity was saying having boundaries. Keon says, I love this. Hope y'all doing this segment more often. Every first and third Saturday of the month.
Here,
Sabrina.
Hey, Sabrina.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, mommy.
She said, hey. Khalil said, what's up, fam? Hey, friend. Norton came on and said, I am new here. I don't know the topic, but from the conversation, I feel it's a good discussion.
I feel like we don't know our topic.
Yeah, we just talking.
We just talking. It's very vital at all levels. So I don't think we read this one, but did we read this one?
Yeah,
I think we did read this one. All right, cool. So we can go down. All right, so okay. Lauren has said obedience is better than sacrifice.
That's a word.
Peterson says y'all have to have faith that God can and bring y'all back together.
Amen.
Norton says
she left us.
Oh, she backstage.
I don't know what happened.
You back, Ty?
Okay.
All right. Norton says, I believe that Christian relationships should and always be different from these non-Christian kinds of relationships. In addition, a born-again Christian relationship should always be different because, above all, we should believe that we are a light of the world, which these means that people out there put us on the spotlight and learning from us in one way or another, which I totally agree. Whether you believe it or not, like, understand, like, you're on a platform, like, you're in the spotlight because we are called the light. So if we're living in a dark world and you're the light, of course we're gonna be watching you. Like, the light is in you. Like, people gonna be watching. So definitely true. Peterson said y'all have to have faith that God can and will bring y'all back together. He had to clarify that. And today crack that equally yoked. Keon says relocating can be a risky choice at times. Me and my wife had these conversations before we got married. That's awesome. Like, I believe I have to really have that full confirmation revealed before I can make that ultimate step. And that really will test I feel like your relationship and your marriage for real. Like, when you have to relocate somewhere and y'all are doing that in faith that this is what God said for real. And if that person didn't hear that from God, but they're walking in faith with you, like, that's huge.
But like he said too, though, like, it's important to have these conversations in the boarding stage.
Prior to marriage, we can't just get married for better or for worse, and we get home, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm going da-da-da, or it's like, hold up, wait, what? Like, you know? So you got to talk about these things. Like, don't be afraid to talk about this before that state, because you got to know if this person can agree with that. Like, let's say, like, you want to be a missionary. Like, does that person know that? Like, that's something in the
Right.
future that you might want to do, because maybe they might not want to like have somebody all the way, like, you know, going places, because they might want to feel like they want to see that person or be, you know, come home to that person. So that needs to be communicated too. Like, don't be trying to hold out and wait for the marriage when y'all married to say these things, because
to trap people.
No,
No,
not
listen.
trap people.
Kenya says to be light means you are on display. Yes, ma'am. So I have a question. I have somebody sent a message. They want to remain anonymous. So yeah, so it says, okay, let's say you're in a relationship and you slip up a few times, and now you feel guilty in the 1 year and 7 months of being together. You find that your boyfriend is overwhelmed because he thinks that we should not go through a 6-month process of doing it God's way because he wants to save himself from heartbreak. My question is, even though we slipped up many times and feel guilty about it and repented, can we still move forward into a godly relationship, turning it over to God rather than just breaking up without hearing if God wants us to be together or not?
By slip up, do they mean sex?
I think go ahead, Tyra.
I don't think it's ever too late. I don't think. But you also have to ask yourself, is this union meant from God? I think, because there's been plenty of couples who are still married to this day who are still on fire for Christ that they had sex before they got married. So I think completely saying no, y'all are not meant to be, I think that's not wise. That's not our choice to say. I think they have to go to God in prayer and want to aim to do better. We know what the Bible says about no sex before marriage. It's up to you if you want to follow that, but we know what it is. Sex, we can talk about sex all day just because it can be emotional ties, soul ties, all that stuff that comes with it, toxic relationships, it comes with that. But I think, you know, it's just like when God gives us grace with things, like he can give your relationship grace. The two people just are going to have to want to do it and set boundaries for themselves and want to have better for themselves. I know a married couple now that's literally their testimony, that they were having sex before marriage and it was not of God, and now they recognize that, and it tore them apart. But now they're back. They went separate ways and got stronger in Christ individually and came back together and did things the right way. So it's all how bad do you really want it? You gotta ask yourself that.
And I think it goes back to Tyra said something, just self-control. And you know, if y'all found yourself in that moment, right? You got into the moment and you had sex, like, okay, where were y'all? What were you doing? What time of day was it? Okay, now y'all know that, hey, maybe we don't need to hang out past 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Until we are married. So, you know, I don't think it should be just end it all together. Just set boundaries, have self-control, notice those patterns, change them. It's not the end of the world.
I think for me,
because there's no reason to feel guilty. If you're a Christian, the Bible says there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ. So it's like God doesn't condemn you for that. So it's like you repent from it, ask God for self-control, set those boundaries, discover those patterns and change them and move forward. It's, you know.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm taking a little bit of a step back, and I think that there needs to be a deeper look on what that repentance looks like. And so I think that there needs to be a real conversation between both of the people in the relationship on, you know, whether that is a choice that they're both going to take, honestly, because I feel like in the message when you read it, Sam, there was a little bit of some on the guy's side, something about like he was worried about the 6 months. And so I feel like, with that being said, like repentance means turning away from your old ways. And so sometimes you can pray away, like, God, forgive me for my sins, but are you going to truly repent and turn your life a different direction? Yeah. So I think it's so important to actually make the active decision to turn away and see how God and seek God in that. So like Laf was saying, some boundaries are going to need to be set. And so if you're starting to see that that's not, like, the boundaries are not working, or you're hearing from God something different, then that's when we start to reevaluate. But I think that if you don't, I think it's dangerous to try to make a difference or try to make a decision within the lifestyle that you're in. Like, you have to start making that change to kind of see, you know, God's results, if I should say.
And that makes sense. Thing, we talked about it last night with courting and dating, and we couldn't agree on it or whatever. Like, but one thing that I think we all could agree on is the idea of having accountability partners.
Yes.
So maybe you see this newly married couple, having them hold you accountable, or maybe an older married couple, just somebody you can check in with, or maybe you're having a night where you both want to dive into that again. You call that person like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I need some help, and that way, you can keep it sailing and not fall back into that same trap again.
And also, if you are that accountability partner, I think it's so important to not be judgmental and have a judgment heart, because that's why a lot of people are scared to go to their accountability partners, because they are afraid that they are going to be judged. And so it's so important that we have an open heart, or let them say what they have to say, and then we give godly counsel. So I think that's also important if you are that accountability partner, and also just not being afraid to check up on them, like, hey, how's it going with
what you doing,
problem, what's going on, and not being afraid to that, still being assertive, but just still having like an open heart as well.
That's good time.
Mm-hmm.
My mom says it's always good to have a mentor.
Hey,
and I think that it's true. Like, it's wise to seek wise counsel and to have wise counsel, especially in something that you're making a goal, which is obviously like if we've been falling and I feel guilty or I'm feeling convicted about it. Like, is it conviction on both parts? You know what I mean? Because you can be feel convicted, but that person doesn't,
so
and that might feel like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, well, do I stay with this person and pray to God about it, and because I feel convicted about it, or do we just break up? So I was a little confused about, I don't know if I guess you guys answered it about when she was saying that the man feels overwhelmed.
I was confused about that too, but
I was a little confused about that, what exactly he was overwhelmed about. And then it says, how do you hear from God better? So I definitely feel like if it's something that is constantly a slip up, like Lafayette said, like, obviously, like, what you were doing wasn't working. You know what I mean? Like, if that was the goal, obviously what you're doing wasn't working. And you need to be realistic. Like, and I feel like a lot of times we like to play like we're stronger than what we really are. Like, oh, I mean, it's just, you just come to my house, like, oh, they'll only see me at night, or like, let's be realistic, honey.
Drive separate cars. There's ways to do it.
You know what I mean? Because people we like to play that we're above this, like we're above the temptation, or we're above this sin, like, and we're not. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, be realistic. Like, if don't like, we're gonna have to meet up in the mornings or something. Like, I don't know, but tell you, like, you know what I mean, in our separate cars, or if it requires someone to come along with you because it's that deep, do what you got to do.
The hearing from God part is interesting to me too, because I feel like there's a lot of ways to like seek God. If that's something like, we can read the word. Like, there's so many ways that like God can like speak to you, and I think like that's a whole like personal thing to pay attention to as well, like actually seeking him, because sometimes we want to hear from God and we kind of just sit and be like, yo, God, what's up? And it's like, no, like there's a way, like we can seek God as well, and we should seek God in the different avenues that he gives us to seek him.
Okay, so there's clarification, but before I read the clarification, Chosen to Be says, love this conversation. Sex is a body, soul, mind, and spiritual connection. The covenant is important to God. It is essential to have accountability, though. Ask God first if that relationship is a sign.
That's vital.
I like that's vital. Word.
Yeah, that's vital. And because if it's not, then now you're wasting time, I think. Yeah. Like, if it's not a sign, then y'all might as well just break up. But have y'all even gone to God together and prayed about this? Like, you praying, I'm praying, we praying. Maybe our accountability partners are praying for us as well. Like, we just, so everybody knows. So I feel like if the answer is yes, God says, yes, this is a sign, and y'all both feel in your spirit, then okay, let's work on the necessary steps so that we can make our union better, and that God is glorified in this relationship. Yeah. If the answer is no, then it's just like we wasting time now. So we might as well just break up.
You gotta pay attention to what you're actually looking for, and I think that's just a big thing of our generation, man. Because sometimes we don't want to say it, but sometimes you just want to boo. Sometimes you want just somebody to hang out with. Sometimes you just want a friend. Like, being realistic with what you're looking for, because I feel like once you start to get to that intentional, I want to say, like, seeking of a partner, which I feel like now that I'm transitioning into that, like, there's so much more there's so much more on the line, because like Tyra was saying, you can be wasting time, or it can be against God's assignment. So I just feel like you have to be realistic with what you're looking for, and making sure that you wanting a boo for a season doesn't turn to you like, oh, now this hangout can be my husband. It's kind of, you have to pay attention to like what you're actually working towards.
I think that it's like what she just said about, and that's Clarissa. She said that ask God first if that relationship is a sign. And so the clarification was that overwhelmed if he should leave me or not. So overwhelmed if whether or not they should break their relationship because of like them being like them falling all those times. And
I'm gonna just give this person a reference really quick. There's a podcast, the relationship dating 101 podcast. There's an actual episode on this where it's like, we've fallen short. Now what? I think it's the title of it. I think she should check that out. Or they should check that out. It's the guy that was a guest on the show actually was in the same situation where him and his like significant other, they were actually shacking together and living together, both Christians and everything. And he went to a conference and heard God tell him like, you really need to like stop having sex and stuff like that. They're married now, and like obviously we see like they were ordained to get married. So I think that will be a great resource tool for her as well, for them as well to listen to that, because it is not the end all be all. It's just, is it a sign?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's
a vital question.
Yeah, she made a good point. Like, is this relationship a sign? Because then now is this something that I need to be working for, or is it something that we should just meet to dead? And then she says, Janae says, fill the void. Woo, Lafayette, you said it.
Who is chosen to be? This need to be on the podcast because preaching facts.
Yes, that's Clarissa.
Hey, Clarissa speaking facts.
So she says, right, because also the idea of being in love can become an idol.
It can.
Can you read what the clarification was again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So she was saying that overwhelmed about if he should leave me or not.
Because she wants to stop, or because they feel like they should stop.
Is that why? Okay, I'll read it again. So it was saying, you're in a relationship, you slip up a few times, and now you feel guilty, and it's been like almost 2 years now of being together. You find that your boyfriend is overwhelmed. He's debating whether or not he should leave you or not, because he thinks that we should not go through a 6 months process of doing it God's way, because he wants to save himself from heartbreak.
Oh, okay. So it looks like he
realizes the damage of them having sex. He realizes the damage, and so now it's basically like, this is damage. Like, we don't damage each other because we've been following.
So we shouldn't even try.
I'm contemplating, like just backing up and maybe having another godly relationship, and I don't fall into sin, if that makes sense. Like,
I guess I would say because
of the damage that has taken place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, damage could take place in any relationship, whether it's a friendship or anything. Right. So I think if you, instead of fixing the problem, just leave it completely and go to somebody else. I mean, what did you really fix? So
nothing. Because then you go to the next relationship with all that damage.
You'll make the same mistake. So it's like, not saying that you will, but there is a strong possibility that you could make the same mistake. So I think it's better to deal with the problem first. If God has assigned it and you got that confirmation, you just deal with it and you work with that person and y'all make some covenants together and y'all keep them. And what are you waiting for to get married 2 years later? So
yeah, because I feel like that's giving up. If God didn't tell you, I mean, and honestly, ask him 2 questions like, do you feel like God told you that? Because other than that, I feel like that may come across as just giving up on because and being fear that damage can't be refixed. And so it makes me not trying to get all preachy, but it's like all damages can be fixed by God, period. Like, he can do whatever he wants to. He has all the power in his hand. So I think sometimes we think that we have to be the fixers and we have to be the ones to take responsibility and make things better. While God can fix anything if we allow him to. So now we have to give him the freedom to do what he wants to do and seek him. So I think that the conversation now becomes of like, hey, why do you feel this way? Is God telling you that this is unfixable? Or is this just like an insecurity of something of the sort? And if we truly care about this, let's ask God if this is something that he's using to take us apart, or if this is something that we should both grow from and can be successful. Because I know that we can self-sabotage as well. Like, oh no, I can't be fixed, or I have too many blemishes. Well, God is like, that's easy for me. If I wanted to, I can wipe you clean, and he does all the time.
So do you think that before I ask my question, Krista says, hey, she says, I'm moving to Florida soon. So Chris is actually engaged. I want to put business out there, but she actually engaged. So that's why, listen, she dropped all these gems. Sis is ready for marriage.
Period,
yes, teach us the ways, sis.
But I don't know, like maybe like Lafayette, maybe from a male's perspective, like I feel like there has to be a reason, and maybe from the male perspective, as to why he would say like, I'm on the fence, like if we should even be together. I don't know. Is it like this alpha feeling of like, I should have control, and maybe this was what we wanted to do, but we failed so many times, and it's kind of like I ain't got control of this anymore. So like, let me just bounce. Like
I don't understand because I'm not a virgin, so I don't really understand where he's coming from. Like I'm being honest. I don't.
Yeah.
We love the transparency.
No, I don't know. I don't get that. Like for me, that wouldn't be the reason we broke up. Like let's work toward, if we're both making a decision to wait till marriage and we slip up. Hey, we messed up again. Like let's make some changes.
But the thing is it's not necessarily about the fact that they slept together or they had sex. It's more so like them doing it, the few times or constantly that they did it, they see the damage that it caused.
He doesn't think that he can, like it can now be changed.
So now that there's damage and he's seeing these damage, he's feeling overwhelmed. Like, whoa, this is just too much of a mess. Like we never really communicated, and then because we was always doing this, and now like, whoa,
that's
like
more of a person, because I had in one of my relationships, it wasn't that, but it was something that I just wasn't willing to compromise on. Or I didn't think that I could work through it, and I think that's more of a pride thing.
I was going to say that. That sounds
like, looking back at it now, I'm like, dang, that was really fixable. Like, what was I doing? So maybe in this moment he's feeling prideful for whatever reason, or maybe just a little stubborn to change, or stubborn to change his ideals, and that could maybe be why. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's a personal thing too, because you don't know personalities and things like that, right?
And then you have to ask yourself too, are y'all willing to stop too? Like, have you really sat
let's
down?
say, so I think like, sometimes, I don't know, that's why I wanted to see the male's perspectives, because I could see it where it's just like, okay, this was going on for this long, and this is kind of damaging. Like, we thought we was into something, and this was not like, now that we've, now that our vision isn't blurred anymore, it's kind of like, whoa, like, this was a lot of mess that was covering up because of this, like this tie that we had together because of what we were doing, the act that we were doing. And so now it's kind of like, now we have the opportunity, we have the choice whether or not like we're gonna stop doing this thing and we're gonna figure it out and trying to like allow God to clean up this mess, or we're gonna lead this, like I'm gonna lead this mess. You got that, and I'm gonna go. So I think
is there some men that can say this too? In the comments, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I would be interested to know. It might be a man thing though,
because I feel like a woman would want to fix it. You know what I mean? Like
we're natural fixers. We want to fix it out. Yeah, we're nurturers and we want to fix something. And
does he feel like he lost control? Where it's just like, now that my eyes, the veils are removed from my eyes, this is damaged. Like, let me go.
But then too, and granted, this is none of our business, but this is like the natural side of me, always like asking questions. How long have we been trying to fix this problem? Is it something that maybe has just occurred, and we're like, oh, this is something we just realized, and like, oh wow, okay, maybe we need something. Or did y'all think like, has this been an ongoing conversation for months or years? And it's like, the only thing I feel like sometimes is when it comes on to sin, like it's hard. Y'all know I can't memorize scriptures like that, but it's I think Peter or Paul was like, what I want to do good, evil is always present. Paul, yeah, and I love that scripture so much because it was just a vulnerable moment. Yeah, so we have to too ask ourselves to like, like, have we gone into deep prayer about this? Have we asked God to change us? And then I don't know, but if it's meant from God, I feel like couples could get through that. Me personally, But I want to hear from men though.
I don't.
My biggest thing is like, I feel like as Christians, I think sometimes we tend to forget that like if we can't fix it, that God can. I think that we constantly have to remind ourselves that
we gotta do our part too.
We really, I think both, but I also think that like we really have to understand like God can do so much more than we can do. Like there's so much more that He can do than we can do, and sometimes we get stuck on I need to fix it. I need to fix it. I need to fix it. and he can do so much more. Like, do not limit God. If you think it's worth it, really seek him. Like, really do, because he can do miraculous things. And it could be a testimony.
For sure.
Spitting some more gems.
Right.
Yes,
Tells us
Clarissa.
it says, look at the fruit of the relationship too. That's a good point, because
Yeah.
although, like, you know, we were doing this thing, and obviously it was sinful things that we were doing, and now we back and we see the damage. Like, but we not just don't look so much focused on the damage. Look at if there was fruit, because if there was fruits out of that, then we can say, okay, this is something that, you know, God probably still has his hand over. We can go to God about it and still work on, you know, setting those boundaries and still working towards, you know, marriage if that's the goal. So I think that was a look. Come through, Clarissa.
I think another thing, like, we think that when you're, I feel like for me, I sometimes equate marriage to, oh, I don't sin anymore, and you know, being single as like I'm sinning so much, and it's just looking at marriage. Like, here's how I see it now. You know, y'all made that mistake that caused some damage in your singleness, but the same thing could happen within a marriage, and you would still have to work it out. So I don't, you know, just having to understand that from that perspective.
That's good.
Facts.
But listen, if you watching, listen. Claire said, look at the fruit of it. So just don't look at this damage. But where's the fruit? Is there fruit? If there wasn't fruit, then I guess you got your answer. Like, it wasn't, y'all was just prolonging this for a long time. But if there's fruit, this is workable. Janae put in some scripture. She said, Romans 7, she got it. It says in the NIV, it says, for I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing.
Paul was talking.
Paul was honest.
Listen,
I think that's the most vulnerable moment Paul had.
Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it's the sin living in me that does it. So yes, Clarissa says right. Yes. So that was, listen. Look, hour and 53 minutes. It will be hour long.
We already touched an hour.
Listen, now we have 2 hours. It's been an hour long. But I mean, I'll see somebody in the comments, and I want to prolong. But listen, y'all gotta come back. Listen, y'all gotta come back on, what day is that? May 16th. So it's every first and third Saturday. So May 16th we'll be back, and we're just gonna be talking. All right.
And then also I wanted to add, y'all, like, you know, we are not experts of any kind. Please educate us, talk to us, let us know. We like having these conversations. Like I said, in the comments, we getting wisdom too. So, you know, take what God gives you, but also we're here to just have a conversation with y'all too. So
and as you can see, we kind of know filters. So
and if you
especially that one right there at the top, right, Lafayette.
What Lafayette?
I was like, you know, just to add to what they said, you know, if you have leaders that you trust and follow, go to them before you come to us. Like, because I don't want to go to hell for nothing that I said that you took to be true, and I want you to go to hell for the same reason. So, you know,
because we gonna be honest.
I think one of the most things I want everyone to know watching this is that we're all just like trying to figure this thing out and get closer to God in general. None of us are perfect. We don't know a lot of the answers to a lot of questions, but if we seek God, that's what's important. He will lead and guide us. And I think it's also important, especially if you're young like us, like we're all in our 20s. I'll be 25 on Thursday, Lord's willing. Hallelujah.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you. But we're all like in our 20s, and so it's like a lot of times I know I love hearing from people that's around my age, because it's good to know that I'm not alone in this, or you know, somebody else might be going through the same exact situation as me. And so just know that we're here. Let us know if y'all need some prayer, child. Y'all slide in them DMs. Oh wait, my cousin said, I love your honesty. This is what's missing in the church.
I agree, and that's why, like, you know, I didn't want it. And again, it's not like, this is not something to be like, okay, let's go to ReflectionZ and asking these questions, because this is not us just answering our questions. It's just literally like, this is the conversation that we literally have. Like, we really just talk. Like, like we just be talking for hours on these types of things and things that are necessarily talked about in church. And so I just like want this platform to be like, okay, like here are people talking about these things that I might have been thinking in my head, or okay, maybe you're on and these are questions that we may be having, and you can give your insight or give your wisdom on it. Like, this is the platform for it. So come on as friends. Like, if y'all in this chat, y'all are now our friends. So hey, friend. So Clarissa says, I'll be back. This is awesome. I like y'all. Oh, thank you, Clarissa.
We like you too.
We love you. We need to be on the panel, sis.
Right, for real. And my dad is on here. He says, I'm proud of you guys. Keep it up.
Oh,
Daddy Laguerre.
thank you.
And then Zay says, I love your honesty. So that's what y'all gonna get,
Zay.
okay? I told them, look, there's no filter. Obviously, we are children of God. So obviously, I don't think the only filter that we could be is being transparent. So like, we're gonna be on here transparent, because how can you really heal, or how can you really learn if people are not being transparent? Janae says, hey, friend.
Hey.
She looked right there.
Right, yes.
That's my woman.
Zay says, I see a conference coming. Who's starting this conference?
Now, Zay, go ahead and sit down.
You know what Zay said?
I'm just kidding.
Can we thank Samantha for this amazing idea?
Come on, Sam.
Yes.
And she was like, hey, I think people need to hear these conversations.
And we was nervous at first. We people don't need to know what we be talking about.
I'm good, because
we be talking about stuff, Chad.
These people gonna be like, Jasmine? I'm be like,
this has really been a blessing, Samantha.
Yeah.
So just thank you for having the heart to hear from God and to go forward with it. Like,
amen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, y'all. We love it. We love y'all.
Yes, Janae says, I'll be tuning in for the next one. Love this so much. I'm so glad that y'all love this. And literally, like, I want to encourage y'all. Like, I recorded a podcast. I posted it yesterday, but it was talking about just like doing things in excellence. And literally, like, sometimes like I ponder on things way longer than I should, because I'm just like, okay, how does this make sense? Or trying to like perfect it, and like it's my fleshly way of perfecting things. And it's like, God's like, look, Samantha, when I tell you to do it, or how I tell you to do it, is how you need to do it, and just execute it, and it's gonna be done in excellence. So even with this, like, God, like literally, like I was just like trying to ponder on it, I think a few days, and I was like, okay, God's like, girl, if you don't just do it, just know it's gonna be done in excellence, and this is needed in this season. And a lot of us sometimes, like, God will give us something, and we'll try to sit on it, and then it's like, God said that was supposed to be done in that season. Now, when you're ready, like it's not in season anymore. So we gotta like be vigilant to that, because because it could be something that's good, but it's not necessarily done in excellence, or it won't have the spirit of excellence because it wasn't done in the season that it needed to be done in. You know how to finish off with a little preaching session.
Come
on. Zay says, you most definitely heard from God with this. Yes, thank God.
Amen.
That's
love y'all.
Thank you. I mean, we got 1 minute, so I guess if y'all want to say something, we're gonna finish it off in 2 hours. It's supposed to be an hour long.
I know. Y'all follow
and we went over an hour.
Follow me on Instagram at Tyra Walks.
Oh my God.
Trying to build that. Following up.
Janae says, not in season. You gotta move when he says move. Yes.
Move.
Y'all want to close out in a quick prayer? Just
go ahead,
Go ahead.
Oh,
not 30 seconds.
No, go ahead, Love. You got Lord, 10-second prayer.
Thank you for this time, God. I just thank you that we were able to have a conversation that was open and honest, God. I just pray for every person who's tuned in, God, for those questions that they have that they may not have gotten an answer to yet. God, speak to them, give them the direction, the answers that they need in Jesus' name. And if there's one on here who is not saved, who has not met you yet, God, come into their heart, allow them to experience your goodness, your presence, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Come on, altar call.
Listen, isn't it funny how 30 seconds before we got live, we had prayed, and now 30 seconds later. All right, it's 2 hours. So y'all, thank you for joining. All right, that was it for today. We love y'all, and we're gonna see y'all in 2 weeks. All right, on the 16th of May.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.